What if you're not stuck? What if you're just being still because God is still working? What if you're just being still because God is still working? Something that my sister in Christ asked me was, Ivana, how do you know, like, if you're still walking with God? Like, how do you know God is there even when you don't feel Him, even when you don't see nothing happening? Like, even though you're doing your part and you're doing everything that He asked you to do, what happens when you don't hear Him, or what happens, when, you just don't feel like you're walking close to Him? This is what I told her. I said, you cannot follow God based on how you feel. Because let's be honest, you will not always feel God. It's true. You will not always feel the Lord. You will not always feel like He's there. You will not always feel like He's talking to you and He's speaking to you directly. There will be times where God speaks to you directly, and then there will be other days where it's like, Lord, you ain't nowhere to be found. I'm speaking to you. But even in those moments, you have to know that God is there. Like, you know what I'm saying? God is not a feeling, He's a knowing. Yes, we can feel the presence of the Lord, but even when you don't feel His presence, you got to know that He's there. Because if we were to follow the Lord based on how we felt, baby, we would have been stopped walking this walk. Okay? Because let's be honest, you won't always feel the Lord. You will not always feel God, but you got to know that He is there with you. And so that was my response to that question. And so overall, how do you know that you're still walking with God? How do you know that God is not mad at you? How do you know that God is not disappointing you? Because regardless on how you feel, we still got the promises of the Lord in the Bible. That's one thing I had to remind myself, that no, I'm not spiritually stuck. I'm just waiting. And not that I'm necessarily waiting on God, but I'm actively waiting on the Lord. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to wait and be still and like not do a thing, but that's not what God is calling us to do. He's calling us to actively wait, meaning still do what He told you to do, but wait for the promise to come to pass. And so no, you're not spiritually stuck. You're not hearing God. And even if you feel like you're not hearing God, just understand that every time you take a test, the teacher's always silent. Okay? So pass the test. Do not, go backwards. Do not, try to compromise or do what's comfortable because you feel like God is not moving, or just because you can't see it. Remember, y'all, we walk by faith and not by sight. So how dare we based our relationship with God on a feeling or what we see? We got to know that we know that He's there. So I love y'all, and I pray that this encouraged y'all.